Hi,
Nice to
Ariana.
meet you.
Hi. So yeah, let's get this started. Could you tell me a little bit about each of your characters?
Yes, Jim's my little mysterious, sexy man in the back who's a mute and on the run. And I don't want to say man, just a little guy, a little cutie patootie. But honestly, unhinged and very dangerous. Also, so even though they're quiet, yeah, they you don't want to mess with them. Probably also the only person in the revenge crew who's competent and could actually run a ship. And Oluwande being a close second. And yeah, that's who Jim is. Unhinged danger.
Yeah, Oluwande is more of a gentle mini giant. He's essentially a voice of calm and peace, essentially, but obviously has a partner in crime who is the complete opposite, which then leads Oluwande into having to look after his friend and them look after him. But he's the more logical journeyman pirate who just wants to earn a living and get on with his life until he meets up with this wild group of characters on the revenge.
What attracted you guys to the show in the first place?
For me, it was more about how clever the script was. It was very unconventional. It was very different to a lot of comedies that I've read before. It stood on its own, and it was a freeing script. You know, when I did my tape, we also had to do a tape which was completely improvised, and that's what I loved with David's writing, is that you could see that on set we were allowed to be free and enjoy ourselves and improv as characters and allow it to feel real. And that's the best type of comedy that I like. Very honest and free comedy.
Literally everything about it, reading the pilot. At the time when I read everything, I didn't know who else was involved other than Taika, Reese, and David Jenkins. But after reading it and reading how the character that I'm playing is described, I was like, ooh, I definitely want to be part of this. I think it's like such a fun, engaging and heartwarming way of storytelling, and like Samson said, is very unconventional, and I think it'll attract a very massive demographic because it hits so many points and it's such a fun watch. Honestly, I mean, the show is also beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's beautiful, like it's like gorgeous cinematography.
Yeah.
For sure. What I've also noticed about the show and period pieces in general, especially because you're both people of color, for a show that's usually set in the 1700s, you often are kind of limited to playing enslaved people, which is a part of the story at the time, but it was refreshing to see it not being limited and typecast to that. Was that something that attracted you guys to the project as well?
100%. I mean, obviously my character, there's a few extra characters that we put on as the series goes on, and I really loved how that's why I said it's a really clever script, because they flip that sort of racial conversation on its head with this one, in terms of and still allows it to be really funny, especially in episode 2. It was very once I read that script, I remember having a conversation with Joel, and I was like, I like what they've done with this. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like, we're pandering, because it's so funny. And the more we kind of express that, I feel like the more it started to come out in the pages, in the scripts, that sort of flipping the norm on its head, essentially. Yeah.
I think the fact that we're all pirates, it gives us that liberty of that. Just we're all outlaws for XYZ reason, and we get to make our own laws as pirates. We get to take agency of who we are outside of what's expected societally or politically. You know, we get to actually be accepted and celebrated for those things, even though it's a life of piracy. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we get to be who we are in this life and take ownership of that. And I think that's so beautiful because it's so incredibly empowering to
Mm.
have those stories be told and celebrated. So yeah, it was a big attractive of that script.
What is the relationship like between both of your characters? Because at one point, Oluwande can actually leave and not be on the ship, but is there for Jim. Is people really? Is it like a sibling vibe? Is there a potential for romance? Like, what do you guys see?
It's a potential for everything. The key thing to always, you know, have in mind with Jim and Olu is that there's a genuine love for each other's safety. Do you know what I mean? Like they both want to protect each other no matter what, because they both understand where each of them have come from. They both know each other's backstories. They both know, you know, why they are on this ship. So I feel like at first it's like a protecting family, you know, and then, you know, from there we just kind of continue a conversation and allow their friendship to grow and allow it to blossom, and you know, and how it's incorporated with the rest of the characters. But it's genuinely a sense of like love, and no matter what, as long as we've got each other, we're going to be able to make it regardless of the revenge or not, you know.
I love that you mentioned safety and security because I mean a lot of, you know, really powerful and beautiful love can blossom from that space, right?
Mm.
And even though Jim doesn't necessarily want to admit it like right off the bat, like this is the first time that they feel safe with someone. And and it's like really sweet to start seeing this like very walled up person who's very quiet and very just like determined and just like this is, you know, head in the game, and then start to slowly kind of be like, actually you're showing up every time and you're saying yes, I'm here, you know, like I am present and I got you.
Mm.
And you know, in our own very, you know, particular piracy, you know, piratey way, but it is a very like tender relationship. Like even if it starts, even if from the outside it feels very like yin yang or very like, you know, fire and earth, you know, that does complement each other,
Yeah.
and that's such a good fun combo.
What would you say was the funniest scene to shoot so far?
Mm. What was the
That's hard.
too many, man?
So many times that I'm glad that I had the beard for because I honestly, and the hat, because I would always use the hat as a way to just like just tilt enough to maybe smile a little bit, and then just like put my finger there and then just like look up like nothing happened, but I was like just constantly chuckling inside. It's a very funny show.
It was a funny scene. There's so many. I'm trying to think of one. I've got three in my head. Probably the dinner party scene. The dinner party scene in episode 1. That was hilarious to film, especially with Rory. Rory was killing me
Yeah.
in that in that episode. That was so funny, man. Just his facial expressions and like and what was going on in that scene and behind the scenes, like off, like once we, you know, once we they yelled cut, it was like just jokes going around the whole room, because I think that was the time when everyone was together, wasn't it? I think that
I
was
was
the
gonna
first time
say
where all of us were together. Yeah.
a lot of my favorite moments are when we were all together in the show. Like we
Mm.
were in, there was a moment where like obviously as the season progresses, like they focus on, you know, little brackets and groups and stuff and they start to split us off. But then
Yeah.
it's like, wait, I mean, it's funny too, but it's like when we have everyone and everyone's energy is like we're all feeding from each other, especially after we've been shooting for a while and we know
Yeah.
we're starting to have a better grasp about who they are or how they relate to each other. It was like we would just constantly be like
Yeah. Yeah.
laughing and
Yeah.
having fun.
Oh, in the beginning, especially, a lot of people believe that they could be a better captain on the ship than Steed. Which person, which character do you think would be the best captain, and which cast member do you think would be the best captain of a ship?
Honestly,
Um,
Oluwande is the best. It would be like Oluwande. I know that Olu doesn't necessarily want to be captain, but like Olu would be a great captain of the
yeah,
Revenge.
yeah. I feel like I'll do, instead of character, I'll do cast member. I feel like Samba will be a really good captain. I feel like Samba will be the most clever captain because I feel like he'll feed us all. Because Samba is like a master chef, baker, human being. Like he's the best, man. So I feel like Samba will be captain of the Revenge.
I'm gonna second with that. I'm gonna second with that. I think Samba would also be like a great captain for the Revenge. And yeah, for character Oluwande for sure.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, and congrats on the show. I can't wait to watch more.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Ariana.
much.